just did the wedding shoot, my second wedding. The first one was a couple. It was not a real wedding because these guys lived together for like 10 years and they already had kids, you know, but they were never officially married, and so they decided to, you know, finally pull the trigger and do an informal wedding. So that was my first wedding, and this is my second wedding. I'm so happy that, you know, somebody gave me the opportunity, because, you know, this is very difficult to break. This market is very difficult to break into, and this was a gay marriage, two girls. They were super nice, and this is about 80 kilometers northwest of Calgary. It was raining like crazy, but it's funny that when I arrived at this venue, which is basically like a big barn, so some farmer decided to make some money, so he had a great idea. You know how all these farmers, right, they have these big barns, and so this guy vacated the barn and cleaned it up, I guess, and turned it into an event place and started renting it out for, you know, like farmers markets on weekends, and weddings and birthday parties and stuff like that. And I talked to one old timer at the wedding, and he says he moved here in 1960 or something, and he says that barn was still there, was already there. So it's pretty much like almost 70 years old, you know. And it was pretty cool. So the lightning was not too bad. I was afraid I would have to use my flash all the time, but that was not required. You know, I just jerked up my ISO. I think I was you know, during the first couple of hours I was just shooting at 4000 ISO, which my camera can handle with ease, and no flash. You know, this was the you know, pictures before the ceremony. Like there was they wanted a bunch of pictures.
Turn right toward Calgary.
Yeah, they wanted a bunch of pictures, all like, you know, the both brides and their family members, and, you know, sisters and stuff like that. So there was a whole bunch of pictures, and then there was the ceremony finally, and then there was dinner, and then there was a dance. And I did bring my tripod, but I brought like my mini tripod, like the one I'm using now with this GoPro. And also I brought a tripod that I can use with my iPhone to record video. And so when the ceremony started, I put two cameras, like the GoPro on one side, on one table to the left, and the iPhone on the table to the right. And so I was shooting the ceremony in 4K on both cameras, because iPhone supports 4K and this GoPro supports 4K. And I was a bit worried because, you know, they hired me for 6 hours, so I thought, you know, that's why I had a super big meal at home, cooked some eggs, you know, and some veggies and stuff like that. And because I did not know if I will have any access to food until 8:30, because the thing started, I was supposed to be there at 2:30, and we agreed on 6 hours, so till 8:30. And so I had my brunch at home at 12, and was still watching movies on YouTube. Like there was the most useful one was a guy uploaded, like, I don't know, hour and a half of a real wedding photo shoot from start to finish. And I'm like, holy moly, like he was showing, you know, the same like ceremony, you know, when they walk down the aisle, and then exchange vows, and then the party, dancing, and it was super helpful. And I still don't know how these guys do this professionally. How do they find clients? You know, like this guy the video I watched. He says he's been doing it full time for like 15 years. Then I'm watching another guy in Toronto, Ontario. He's doing it also full time, and they're making a lot of money. But I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. And so, but the best thing is that 2 or 3 people came over to me and they said, Sergey, if you need anything, let me know. The food is over there, the bar is over there, the bar is open. Help yourself. And so I had a shot of vodka, I had some wine, but of course not too much, just to keep it professional. But food was free, the booze was free, there was water, everything, and everybody was super friendly, super nice. Like, I never met these people before in my life, right? One of the brides reached out. I forgot. It was a very long time ago. I remember that I was a bit weird, wondering why they book a photographer so early. And I think it was like 4 or 5 or 6 months. And they were saying, yeah, we have a wedding in June. Are you available on June 21st? And I think it was like February or something, honestly. Like, these ladies, they're really, good planners. And so, yeah, but otherwise it was like a regular wedding. Sorry, not real. It was real. But it was like a regular wedding, with bridesmaids and, what do they call them, witnesses in Russian, and the party and the dinner. And there was not too much dancing because there was a guy playing a guitar and he was forgetting the chords and he was apologizing, but for some reason they did not play, they had the music in the background there, but for some reason they did not play like a dance music. Like other places I went, there was always like a DJ, right? I remember this Christmas party, like a corporate event where the owner of the shop invited all employees and their family to a Christmas party, and there was a DJ, right? There was a DJ, there was some prizes, But so, I already have lots of experience with event photography. So not so much with weddings, but I did a lot of corporate parties, and especially Christmas parties.
For about 53 kilometers, continue straight.
And I only got this flash recently, and so I'm still learning how to use flash properly. And I was already all packed, ready to go, disconnected the flash from my camera, and some old gentleman came over and he said, can we get just one picture with me and my brother and our wives, because he says we get together like once every 10 years. And I said, sure, let me just hook up the flash back to the camera. And I went over, took some pictures, had to do some adjustments because the light has changed. It was already very dark inside this hall. But yeah, it was a super great experience. And so these 2 ladies now starting their life together, and yeah, they call them brides. And there was official ceremony, so they received the certificate of marriage because it's legal. It's legal in, wanted to say Ontario. No, I'm not in Ontario anymore. It's legal in Alberta at least. So 2 women can get married, 2 guys can get married. Nothing wrong with that, I don't think. And it was such a privilege to oh yeah, and before, like, the first thing we did, because the rain stopped by the time I reached that hall, the barn, and I said, hey, why don't we take some photos outside, because it's still daylight, there's no rain, just a bit chilly. And so I took some pictures of the brides, of their friends, of their family, you know, outside. Oh, and then what's cool is that they hired a guy who has I think it's Pontiac, but like 1956, you know, like super classic old car, but in great condition. And the brides wanted to get a picture with the car, and I said, why don't you get inside as if you just, you know, arrived in the car, and then I'll take a picture of you inside the car, and then maybe one of you can just open the door and help the other bride get out, you know, kind of like when it's a straight marriage, like a guy would open the door for the girl, right? But I was not sure who did which role. But one lady said, yeah, that's cool. So she opened the door for the other lady, and they kissed. And so yeah, it was very rewarding, you know, to see happy people enjoying their moment. One funny story is that I was taking a picture of, I think it's one of the brothers with his wife or girlfriend, and I took 3 pictures. In each picture, the girl's eyes were closed. And I'm like, I don't know what else I can do, you know, like. And her boyfriend says, okay, he gives her the tip. He says, keep your eyes closed until we say, you know, let's say 3, 1, 2, 3. Just keeps your eyes closed, and then when Sergey says 3, open your eyes. And so she had a bit of a startled expression on her face, but finally her eyes were open. Because I never had this when, like, three times in a row I cannot get their eyes open, you know, like, what the heck? So yeah, it was interesting. And for food, we had some mashed potatoes and I think it was some kind of a cabbage salad. Just, you know, very simple but pretty filling. And we had some ribs, you know, like lots of fried ribs. And then, of course, at the end there was a cake. So I made sure I took a lot of pictures of everything, and I did the video with my iPhone. I did video with this GoPro, but now I changed the setting to 1080p. But before, I know they wanted higher quality, so I shot everything in 4K. And one little scare happened when, already after the ceremony, one of the brides came over and she said, you know, it's windy outside, can we go and take some pictures, you know, kind of like with our dresses, you know, flying in the wind? And I said, sure. And so I have 2 cameras, right? I have this harness that allows me to hold 2 cameras, one on the left side, you know, like I have Nikon's ZF or ZF, and on the right I had the new Nikon Z5 Mark II. And so I was using ZF or ZF Mark II, and I wanted to look at the picture after I took the picture, and it says, cannot access this SD card. Please insert a different SD card. I'm like, what? This never happened to me. But, you know, all professional photographers, they always say that you must have duplicates, you must record everything twice, you know, on 2 SD cards, because one of them can fail. It never ever happened to me where a camera would give me a message like this, and this is a brand new camera, the Z5 Mark II. And I thought, man, what if all the images are gone over there? Because I turn on, you know, view where I can see the images, and it shows me like 5 or 6 images, and after that it goes black. Wow. So basically what I think happened is that either that card was close to its maximum holding capacity, because there was only a 64 gig card, was on ZF I have a 128 gigabyte card, and both of these cards are not new. You know, I used them for a long time with other cameras, and I think that might be the problem. So it's time for me to get some new SD cards and have a couple of them, you know, lying around just in case. And so I got scared that I lost half of all my shots, and so it occurred to me that wait, let's try take that SD card from Z5 Mark II and put it into ZF and see if ZF can read the previous pictures. And to my relief, ZF was able to read all the pictures. So I'm not sure what's with that. So I hope my camera is not defective or anything. But you know, it was shooting fine for like 5 hours. Maybe the contacts got dirty or something. But it's interesting, right? That the camera could not read the card, but when I put that card into a different camera, it had no issue reading the files, which of course means that the problem was with the camera, not the card. So I don't know, but that ZF, it has dual slots, so it's more professional in that regard, because ZF only has one card slot, but it never gave me any trouble. But anyway, all's good that ends good, right? I have all the pictures, and the ladies live not too far from that hall, so they're pretty far from me. It's like 1 hour drive. And so I said, how do you want the pictures? And they said, can you mail them maybe, like the you know, the USB sticks? I said, well, maybe you can set up a some kind of a Dropbox online, so I can just, you know, upload all the files and then you can download them. And she said, yeah, that would work. Let me set up, you know, there's a website called Dropbox.com where you can set up an account, and then, you know, I can upload pictures, and then she has access to them, so she can download them anytime and keep them over there. So saves a lot of time, because it's big files. Yeah, I shot everything in raw files on both cameras. I don't know, I probably took close to 1,000 pictures plus video in 4K. And actually, the reason I'm recording with GoPro, I took my phone first, and the phone refused to record the video because I already used it so much for this wedding. So I'm guessing the memory is full on my iPhone. So, but yeah, so I'm very excited to look at the pictures when I get home. But again, I might have issues because I never worked with raw files before. I'm not even sure how to open them. Like, will my Mac computer be able to read them? So, but that's what they wanted. One of the brides who hired me, she says she wants raw files because she does video editing, and so, you know, if exposure requires some tweaking, or, you know, you can adjust some colors and, you know, picture controls, like with the raw file, it's you have much more flexibility, right? So they wanted raw. I'm gonna give them a raw. But me personally, until now, I always shot in JPEG because I don't do Photoshop, I don't do Lightroom. That's what I usually tell people. I say, okay, you will get JPEGs from the camera on a USB stick, maybe with some mild editing. But usually what I do is when I come home after a shoot, I just delete all pictures that are not sharp, or somebody has, you know, closed eyes or something like that, and then I load all the pictures on the USB stick, and then I go meet the client, give him all the files, and they give me the money. But this lady, they paid me beforehand, right? And again, I'm super happy for the opportunity. It's not easy to get into this market, course, I'm coming in a bit late, but it was cool. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, because you get to be creative, and I'm happy to report that I was coming up with some ideas that they liked. I said, when her brother, the brother, one of the brides was, they wanted me to take a picture of the brother and one of the brides, and I said, can you maybe lift her? Like, is she a younger sibling? He says, yeah. So I said, can you maybe lift her in your arms like a baby and hold her? And he said, okay. And so he picked her up, and I took a shot. So then we did a couple of other shots, something creative, something a bit unusual. It was fun. So basically it made me think how to make photos, more interesting, not everything the same. And yeah, so super glad that I got this experience. So anyway, I'm gonna maybe attach a few pictures at the end of this, but I think first I forgot to ask him if it's okay to share some photos on Instagram. But if they say okay, then I'm gonna attach a few photos here at the end of this video.